Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Öland once again, and we're going to take a look at yet another of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip over to Blekinge, Kalmar and Öland, and I'm really curious to see how this one turns out because this is a brewery that's attached to quite a well-known music venue actually, and hopefully this is a good beer. So for this one we are going to go to Kackelbryggeriet, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it literally translates into English as like the laughing or the cackle brewery, I guess you could say as well. But this particular beer is simply called Ale, and it comes in at 5.5% ABV. It's supposed to be an American Pale Ale, this one, and when I was looking through the list of beers that these guys have on Untappd earlier on, there are some really quite interesting things in there, so I need to see if I can actually order these beers over to Skåne actually, because there was one or two that I thought would be very interesting to review later on. But my first encounter with these guys, hopefully it's a good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. I just saw this in Systembolaget over in Färjestaden, and I thought I'm probably not going to find this beer again, so here we are. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Kackelbryggeriet. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, very, very regularly of course. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely, hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Kackelbryggeriet. So Kackelbryggeriet, as I mentioned to you earlier, from Öland, and it was founded back in 2014 as part of the Kackelstugan music venue. So Kackelstugan literally translates into like laughing cottage or cackle cottage basically. But Kackelstugan can be found near Borgholm, which is kind of, Öland is very kind of long and thin if you like, but there's a curve in it on the kind of northwestern side, and Borgholm is right on that little curve there. But you can find this place just a little bit to the east, or kind of southeast-ish of Borgholm if you like. But today, this place is actually known as being a summer venue for music concerts. It was founded back in 1996, but they're run almost daily over the summer period, usually for around like 2 months or so, and they've got various kind of local and national artists that come there to actually play concerts, which is really cool. And they've also got a hotel, a gallery and a restaurant on site which runs in conjunction with the concerts, and they also open up the restaurant on some weekends out with the summer season as well. But the main man behind this company is Pelle Aldestam, who has a background in fashion and is still active in this field as well. But he also founded the Öland Live organisation in August of 2018, and this is run in conjunction with the Kackelstugan to promote the music venue and to kind of promote local music and artists and things like that as well. But the brewery part of the business is run by Pelle's brother Robert, who has a background in working for the local authority, and he worked at a winery in South Africa once upon a time as well. But as of November 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced 35 different beers, and they're produced on a pretty small scale from what I think. I'm sure it's, I couldn't find an exact figure for what these guys are producing, but the picture of the brewery looked as if it was a kind of either 500 or 1,000 litre apparatus actually. So I'm guessing that these guys produce, maybe if they brew once a week, they'll produce somewhere in the region of like 50,000 litres of beer per year, something like that actually. So yeah, a really interesting small company this one. Like I said, 35 different beers that these guys have done. Some of them seem really quite interesting actually. There was a few different imperial stouts and stuff like that listed on the Untappd page when I took a little quick look at it as well. So you know, if you get the chance to try some of the different beers, have a look at them. This is the one that I saw in Systembolaget. I'm not sure how many of them are actually available through Systembolaget, but I'll definitely check that out for future videos and things like that. But yeah, that was all I was really able to find out about Kackelbryggeriet. It was a bit difficult to find information on this brewery actually. I had to look at the local Öland Bladet and things like that, the local Öland paper, but there wasn't really too much available. Their own website and stuff didn't have things, and it was a little bit of a jigsaw to try and put all the information together on this one. So I do apologise for the history section of this video being a little bit kind of disorganised compared to some of the other ones that I've done. But yeah, that was all I was able to find for you. But if you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website, but you'll find that on the Kackelstugan website as well. It's a sort of subsection, if you like, but you can check out the Facebook and Instagram. That will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at Kackelstugan and Kackelbryggeriet. And of course, if you're interested in the different beers that they do, you can check out the Rate Beer pages, or indeed at the Untappd page, and that will give you all the different things there. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. The bottle that this one's in, I think, is actually the same as what oh, it's going right in my head. Opigård's Brewery were using for their bottles. It's quite a tall 330ml bottle, this one. So it says here, en Öländsk öl från en litet bryggeri med stora idéer. So as an Ölands beer from a little brewery with big ideas. Kackelbryggeriet är en del av Kackelstugan, ett före detta hönshus som är ett bildningscentrum med musik, mat, litteratur, konst och boende. So it's basically saying that this is a piece, this company is a part of the Kackelstugan, which is before, I think it's meaning that it was an old hen house or something like that actually, but now it was rebuilt and it's a music, food, literature, art and accommodation centre is basically what it's saying. But yeah, there you can see that little bit there. If I've maybe not translated it perfectly, but I think I've done a decent enough job with it. But there you can see, there is the Kackelbryggeriet symbol there with Öland on the bottom. Öland, of course, as I mentioned to you earlier, is that big long island, the very long thin one, just off the southeast coast of Sweden. Don't mix it up with Gotland, because Gotland is a lot bigger. But yeah, there you can see, there's the Kackelbryggeriet bottle cap on this one. So yeah, let's get this guy out and have a look at it. A 5.5% American Pale Ale, from what I understand. It says Hantverksbryggd öl från Öland. So yeah, it's kind of cool. One of the things I always found quite funny about Öland, it's a very beautiful place, but just the name, you know, it means island land. Ö in Swedish and Norwegian and Danish, I think, as well, literally means island. So this island is literally called Island Land. Strange. But yeah, be interested, if any of you are watching from Öland, do let me know in the comment section below what the exact idea behind that was. So yeah. Now, with the colour of this one, I'm wondering if I told you a bit of a lie. Maybe this is meant to be an English Pale Ale rather than an American Pale Ale, but it was definitely listed on Untappd when I had a look at it, and it said it was a Pale Ale. So maybe I've just said the wrong thing, but this one, I'm not sure what this is going to be. It looks like it could be an English bitter or something, but we'll have a bit of fun with this then. So yeah, this could be a really quite interesting review, this, I think. So as you can see with this one, it's poured. This is poured a really dark, kind of rubyish mahogany. Could it be like an English mild or something like that? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, a lovely kind of rubyish mahogany colour, this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head. There is still a little bit in the bottle of this one. You can see there was a solid 2-finger, bumpy, I would say light beigey coloured head to this one. But yeah, in terms of appearance, I'm not sure exactly what to make of this one. It could be a bitter, it could be a mild, or, well, milds are usually a little bit darker than this from what I understand. But yeah, this one I think is going to be more along the lines of an English style beer of some description. So yeah, unusual that. But as I say, I checked it out on Untappd and it said it was a Pale Ale, but normally if it's an English Pale Ale, it would be a little bit lighter than this. So not sure what to make of this one, we'll just need to see. Yeah, in terms of the aroma then, the malty quality really comes across as being quite English. It's got a very kind of grainy malt base to it, some brown bread in there, a little bit of a woody kind of undertone to it as well. Yeah, grainy, brown bready, a little bit of a woody undertone, as I say. Maybe a wee touch of like biscuit, like McVitie's Digestives, something like that, a wee hint of brown sugar. But yeah, it really smells kind of quite similar to an English bitter or something like that, to be honest. But it's got a little bit more sweetness to it. I'm really not sure actually, but you can get bitters of different colours, and this one is definitely within the realms of possibility for a mild or an English bitter. So yeah, keep that in mind when you try this, or when you go and smell the aroma of this beer. As I always say, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer. Actually, it's just taking a bit of time and enjoying that aroma. So yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, take a bit of time with that. On the hoppy side of things, a little bit of earthiness in there, and a bit of herbal and floral quality. I wouldn't be surprised again if it's English hops, maybe like Kent Goldings. It's not strong enough to be Fugels. Bramling's Cross maybe? I don't know, because it has a little bit of that fruitiness that you can sometimes get from Bramling's Cross. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's not Fugels, Kent Goldings and Bramling's Cross that's in this one. This is definitely an English ale of some kind of description. Yeah. Fruity side of things then, it's also got a little bit of a kind of red fruity note to it. It's kind of figgy, and that would be the Bramling's Cross that gives you that if it's English beers and it's got a good bit of fruit in it. There's a 99% or 95% chance that it's Bramling's Cross that they have in it. That's quite a popular hop for barley wines and things. But yeah, this is really quite a nice smelling beer actually. I mean, I'm not a great fan of English milds and stuff like this. When it comes to English beer, for me it's always about the stouts and the porters and things. I really like dark English beer, but when it comes to the bitters and the pale ales and stuff like that, I was never such a great fan of those. When it comes to IPAs and things, I'm all about the American ones, to be honest. But yeah, this beer comes across as quite a nice malty sort of thing. So let's just stick the last little bit of this one in and we'll have a taste of it then. I'm really curious to see exactly what style this beer is, but look at that, nice pour on it. So yeah, without further ado then, let's have a taste of this beer and see how we got on. This one is the ale, inventive name of course, 5.5% from Kackelbryggeriet on Öland in the southeast of Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Ooh. Carbonation on this one is really quite active actually. Straight away with this beer, you really are going to get it's an English bitter. It's definitely an English bitter, this one. Could it be a mild? You see, I've not had a mild in a very long time, and there's something about this beer. I always remember the milds being a little bit more kind of smooth, but still having that grainy, bittery type thing from the in the malt base and stuff. So I do wonder if this is supposed to be like an English mild. Yeah, I think it is an English mild, to be honest. So yeah, if you like English milds, I think this might be the first Swedish version of an English mild that I've had, and to be honest, when it comes to milds, the only other one I can think of that I've reviewed on the channel was years ago, and that would be the Brewdog How to Disappear Completely. And I think that was the first ever encounter I had with an English mild. You don't see too many of this style about actually. So yeah. But yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this one down a little bit then. So, straight away in the middle of your palate, you're going to feel a little bit of a bready quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. You can really feel a kind of grainy underpinning to this beer. It really does have that English bittery type malt base to it, but it's a bit smoother than that, and that's what really makes me think it's a mild. If you go, it's almost like if you think about the edge of a hedgehog bread roll, you know, like one of these rough crusty things. It's really got that kind of toasty, crusty quality to it in the middle of the palate too, but it's not too strong actually. It's not like a Schwarzbier or a Tmavi as the Czechs would call it. It's not anything like that. It's just a little bit kind of toasty and well fired, but it's interesting how that goes together, I have to say. In the centre of the tongue, there's a wee bit of a brown sugary note there. If you move further out from the centre of the palate, it starts to become a little bit more biscuity. It's not quite there's a teeny bit of caramel there, and it's quite a well-fired caramel, but you'll also notice that the centre of your palate just, it dries out a little bit, and you can really get a big dryness out of this beer the further that you go into it. I like how that goes together, but definitely a kind of traditional English beer, this one. Whether it's, I really am leaning towards saying that this is a mild. It's too smooth, if you like, to be a bitter. Bitters are usually, as I say, a little bit more kind of grainy and bitter than that, actually. And I will say straight away with this beer, it's got a good, you can tell that this beer is quite well crafted. This isn't a style that I would normally go for, to be honest with you. I mean, if there was in the, say, Systembolaget, if there had been a few different styles and things, this was the only one that I saw. And if there had been other ones, and I'd known that this was like an English mild or something, I might have picked it just because of interest. I might have picked it because I haven't reviewed many of these, but I probably would have picked one of their porters or something like that. If I was going to have an English style beer, as I say, I would have picked the porter and the stout and things. And there's nothing wrong with this beer. It's just a style that I'm not the greatest fan of, I have to admit. So, yeah. But the malt base and things that go together, you can tell straight away that this is a well-crafted beer. If you like this style, I think you will appreciate this one. It is well-crafted, and you can tell, just from the mouthfeel and everything like this, that this is a well-done beer. So yeah, hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, definitely a little bit of earthiness there, and it's quite a dark earthiness. That's one of the key giveaways that it's English hops in here. As you come further forward, it evolves to be a little bit more herbally, but the earthiness spreads forward too. At the front corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of a floral aromaticity. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy. Then behind the front curve of the palate, you've got a nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And for me, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of Bramling's Cross in here, like I was saying. Yeah, behind the front curve of your palate there, you've got those nice fruity esters just rolling out, and to me, it's got a wee teeny bit of a raisiny sharpness in the beginning, then it mellows out a little bit. As you come further forward on the tongue, it gets a little bit more kind of figgy, and the further you go into the aftertaste, you're going to start to get the impression of like a blackcurranty, blackberry sort of thing out of the beer. But in terms of its flavour profile, as an English mild, it is pretty well done, I have to say. It's got everything you would expect of of that particular style. Not a style that I'm too accustomed to, not a style that I'm a massive fan of, right enough. But you can tell that this is a quality beer, and on the basis of this one, I would be curious to try something else from these guys, like an American IPA or a stout or something like this. I would be really curious to try a style that I'm a bit more familiar with, actually. That's maybe something I need to do on the channel, is try and review a few more different English milds and things like that, because it really is a style that is very much lacking after 1900 beer videos. I need to look into that a little bit more. In terms of the mouthfeel then, with this beer, the first thing I would pick it up on would be it's overcarbonated. The carbonation in this one is just, it's far too active, especially for an English ale. You know, English ales are not known for high levels of carbonation. I don't know if that's just down to the bottle conditioning or if it's been sitting for a little while, but this beer I think is overcarbonated. In fairness, it says here February of 2020. Now I would think either the beer would have been sitting in Systembolaget for, what would it be? I'm in November now, and this one goes out of date in 3 months. I think it's maybe been sitting there in the shop for about 3 months. I don't think a brewery of this size is going to put any more of a kind of sell-by date than beyond 6 months, actually. At most, it's been sitting there about 9 months. That could explain the over-carbonation of this. So maybe if you get one that is a little bit newer, you won't have that same issue. So, take that comment with a pinch of salt. But the one that I have is a little bit, pardon me, over-carbonated, actually. So in terms of the overall mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer, if it didn't have the carbonation, I think it would be quite a mid-bodied beer. The carbonation, as I say, is just a bit overactive in this one. The mouthfeel overall, I think, is quite I think it'd be more of an oily beer, this, without that carbonation. Yeah, it is more of a kind of oily mouthfeel out of this beer. In terms of IBUs and bitterness, there's a little bit of it coming out of the malt base from the grainy aspects, and you've also got a little bit of it from the hoppiness as well. I'd say we're talking about 30-ish IBUs with this one, somewhere in that kind of region, maybe 25, something like that. But it is coming both from the malt base and from the hoppy side of things too. In terms of fruitiness, it's got a nice little bit of juiciness to it. The malt base, as I say, it dries out the further you go into the aftertaste. You get some woody undertones from it as well, so it does have a degree of smoothness, and there's a little bit of sweetness in the middle of the palate too, but the malt base really does lean towards the grainy, slightly drier side of things. But overall, this is quite an interesting beer. You can tell it's well crafted. I think the bottle conditioning has maybe let it down a little bit. Either that, or it's just been sitting for a wee while. We won't be too harsh on them for that, but you can tell this is a well crafted beer, a style that I'm just not overly familiar with or such a great fan of, to be honest with you. But you can tell this is a good beer, and I would be curious to try another one from these guys, probably a style like the porter, or a stout or something like this, or even an American IPA. They've got a few different things there listed there, but definitely an interesting one to review as my first beer from Kackelbryggeriet. So thumbs up to the guys at Kackelbryggeriet for producing quite an interesting beer that's tested my palate a little bit. I always enjoy reviews like this that have got a little bit of a surprise to them, especially when it's, as I say, 1900 videos that I've done now. So yeah, if you like an English mild, have a go at this one. If you like an English bitter, I'm sure you would enjoy this beer as well. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. This one is the ale from Kackelbryggeriet, just outside of Borgholm, on Öland off the southeast of Sweden. A really interesting beer, this quite well crafted, but just not a style that I'm overly familiar with, this one. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. Quite an interesting one for me. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Kackelbryggeriet as well. I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future, and you'll see a couple more Öland beer reviews coming up as well. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Make sure you check out Kackelbryggeriet and Kackelstugan. Cheers.